Alright, so what is up guys, it's Zero here, and today I'll have for you my deck profile for Revengers. So, this is honestly a deck that I was not expecting to be as good as it is, but it is basically my go-to deck to climb right now because I fucking hate playing Seekers. So this deck, I initially didn't think it was very good, but after playing with it for like a season, I think this is arguably the best deck in the game right now. Like, it is straight up on par with Seekers. So without further ado, let's get to the deck list. Wait for it. Alright, almost there. Okay, so this is the list. This is the list I've been playing. I'll explain my choices on stuff, certain ratios and all that. We'll start from the top like usual. First off, my starter choice is the Judge Bow Revenger. So if you don't know what he does yet, because he actually is not out on global yet. So for the global players, his skill is, I guess also for the people who actually just don't know what he does, his skill is when the attack that he hits boosts, a Phantom card hits, so you can CB1, put him into Soul to call any two grade 1 or lowers from your deck. So since no triggers in this game, you call grade 1s. You can call 2 grade 1s from your deck. So things to note, he boosts a Phantom, not a Revenger, which is weird, but that is just besides the point. He boosts, so the only thing that he can boost that the energy the skill is Mordred and Phantom Blast or Abyss. So if you boost like it doesn't proc if you boost like a Blast or Dark Revenger or something, because it boosts Phantom instead of Revenger. And then you can put in a Soul to call any 2 grade 1s, and the 2 grade 1s can be anything you want. They don't have to be Revenger names, they don't have to be Phantom names or whatever like that. You can call any 2 grade 1s. So yeah, he calls 2 boosters for you. So what this card does is you can let you call like 2 Dorants. You can call like a Vanguard booster, a rear guard Dorant. You can call a Swordbreaker and a Dorant. You can call any combination of those. If you play more than one Swordbreaker, unlike me, you can call 2 Swordbreakers and draw 2 cards. But I'll go into why I'm only playing one Swordbreaker once we actually get to the card. So this is my startup choice. I think Claudius is okay too. I think Goat is probably the thing I wouldn't play just because I don't value the Goat anymore. And Spinbow is a actual joke of a starter that only bad players play, so please don't play that card. I'd say your starter choices should be either between Judge Bow or Claudius. So I choose Judge Bow because I think he has a little more use than the Claudius. Yeah. Next up, PGs. We play the Revenger Maclear. It is actually important that he is a Revenger name because Phantom Blaster of this only sacks off Revenger cards, so if in a situation where you actually need to sack off Revenger only cards, you can slam PG down. If you're playing old PGs, you can't sack those off, so yeah. Actually, it does make a difference. And you're still playing Mordred, so you still need Break Ride. You don't get held at 3 Break Crit at the entire time, so yeah, that's why you play the new PGs. Next up, the Dorant. So his skill is when a Blaster Dark Revenger is called in the same column as he is, countercharge 1. Yeah, you have to play him at 4. He's the Dex Unflipper. Yeah, he's the Dex Unflipper. He's the countercharger. You kind of need this. It's what lets you use Counter Blast, like, at all whatsoever. So yeah, this is definitely a 4 of. Next up, the other 4 of is the Shadow Lancer. So his skill is unfortunately rear guard circle only. Unfortunately, it does not work on Vanguard, which really sucks. Because when you ride, you can't use the skill. So if you wanted to use a skill and your hand was like this fucker and Dorant, you have to ride the Dorant and then call this guy. He doesn't work on Vanguard. It really sucks, but you still need to play this card. His skill is on play rear guard circle only. You discard a grade 3 to search your deck for a Mordred and add it to your hand. So this card can trade any grade 3 in your hand for a Mordred, which is your ideal first ride. Later on in the game, you can use him to dump like a heal trigger in your hand into drop zone to grab the Mordred, and so you can Legion. I don't do that often just because at the end of the day, you're still ripping a trigger out of your deck. So that's why I personally don't do it, but that is a way to get a trigger out of your hand. If you just wanted to heal out and you don't really care about ripping the trial, so yeah. It's okay. This card can also be used in a situation like that where you take the Mordred Iric just to thin your deck up by 1 card if you're specifically digging just for heal triggers to try to live, or just to try drawing a PGs to try to live. That is something you can do. That's something I have done before, so there's like a few little extra niche uses for this card other than just searching Mordred for first ride, but it's mainly there just for that. And then the 1 Swordbreaker. So her skill is, first off, she's not a Revenger. That's very important. She's not a Revenger. So her skill is when called from deck, so lost 1 draw card. This is just Din Drain, but for shadows. This card is good because it does draw you a card, but the problem with this card is the first problem is that it's 6k. So because Usually you want your rear guard lane boosters to be Dorans, so you can actually put Blaster Arcs down and countercharge when you place them down. But this card is 6k, so the only spot it really goes behind is the Vanguard because you want Dorans on the side. And when it's 6k, you don't scale with Mordred because Mordred only gets plus 3k when attacking a Vanguard. 14 plus 6 is only 20, not 21, so you don't scale for magic numbers, which is a problem. So yeah, that is not Rendering, and since it's not Rendering, when you go for your PBA turn to sack cards off to restand, you usually sack off your back row because you want to keep double intercept. So you have to play over this card at some point most of the time. So yeah, so realistically, what she does is she calls herself and you draw the card. So instead of having a booster on the board, you have a card in your hand because this card usually just leaves the board the instant you can get a chance to get her off the board. So yeah. That's why I don't. That's why I play one, but that's not actually the reason why I play one. The reason I play one is because I need space for the 4 Shadow Lancers. Because if you just look at my grade 2 level before we actually get there, I'm not playing Tartu or Mana to tutor the Shadow Lancer out of the deck. I want 4 copies of this card to ensure I can actually see the card by turn 1 or turn 2, because this card has the most applicable use during turn 1 or turn 2 to dig for the Mordred ride, and if I'm not playing a card that can tutor her out, I want to maximize my chances of seeing this card so I can actually dig for the Mordred ride. If you're playing like Tartus or Manas in your grade 2 line, you can definitely cut down on these and play more Swordbreakers if you want. If you don't like the fact that Swordbreaker is basically a brick on the board, you can definitely cut her for like a Dark Bond or the Grade 1 Masquerade, but I personally like having the Ultimate Swordbreaker. I honestly would play more, but again, I think since I'm not playing any ways to tutor Grade 1s, having the 4 Shadow Lancers is more important, so that's why I only have space to play the one. Because Doran and Repeatus are also just very essential at 4 copies each, so I don't have space to play more than one in a list like this. So yeah. That's it for grade 1s, onwards to grade 2s. We'll do the old cards first. So first off, still the best grade 2 in the deck, the Blaster Dark Revenger. His skill is on place, Vanguard rear, usually rear, because if you're Vanguard, you're probably not going to get that unflipped from the Doran. On place, if you're Vanguard the Revenger, which is everything you will ever ride in this deck but in the main, but if you rode in the main called this dude, you probably should have done it all the way around to begin with, so. His skill CB2 retire anything. With Doran CB1 retire anything, which is good, or you just not retire and just unflip with the Doran. So yeah, you kinda need to play 4 of this guy. He's like the best grade 2 in deck, he's your only source of front row retire. So yeah, you definitely need to play 4 of this guy. And next up for the other grade 2s, little cards first. The Nemain, her skill is on place, rear guard only, unfortunately, but what can you do? CB1, discard card, draw 2 cards. This card helps you trade cards in your hand to try to dig for better cards. Helps you drop cards into drop zone 4 Legion. So she's like dual purpose, pretty good card. I think you probably could try playing more, but if you play 4, you could definitely run into the risk of having to ride her too often. Even with 3, sometimes you're forced to ride her, and it really, really sucks, but I think this card is valuable and important enough in this deck that you should play her at some degree. Whether it be 3 like me, if you're feeling really ballsy, you can play 4, or if you don't want to run that risk, you can play 2. But I definitely think this deck, the main should be a minimum 2 of, in my opinion, in this deck. So yeah. Next up is the Blaster Dark Abyss. So he is honestly pretty much just playing for the fact that he's the mate to the Phantom Blaster Abyss, but his skill is on play, rear guard circle only, your Vanguard to Revenger, CB1, retire any grade 1 rear guard on your opponent's side of the field. So he kills specifically grade 1s, that kinda sucks. You can't kill zeros because you can't kill starters, because only grade 1 not grade 1 or lower. You can't kill intercepts either, so that's why it's CB1. You still use it though, because CB1, for one, he's the mate to your main finisher. But he can still kill somewhat important things like Dorans, Balance, boosters in general. So yeah, he's an okay card, but really you're playing just for the mate. You play 3 because you actually do re-ride sometimes, because Phantom Blaster Abyss is a on Legion turn skill, and it's not just one in Legion skill, so you do need to re-ride sometimes, and you don't really want to run the risk of having none. I played with 2 for the longest time, I never had the 3rd copy, but 2 definitely is not enough. I think you definitely need to play 3 of this card. And then next up, or at least 3. If you really like this card for you could play 4, but I think 4 is a little excessive. And then the last grade 2 is the Macart. So his skill is, when you Legion, you can call any grade 1 or lower Revenger card from your deck as rest. So he calls fodder, basically. He calls fodder for you to sack off. He's okay. You pretty much just play him for the mates, to the Cormac, and I'll explain why I play the Cormac when we get to the Cormac, but you basically play as the mate. He's okay too, though, because unlike Tartu or Mana, he doesn't call the column directly behind him. You can call him the Grade 1 anywhere, so a lot of times what you will end up doing is, if you call the Swordbreaker with the Judge Bow, you will just call like a Shadow Lancer or something behind the Vanguard, just to call over this card to stack off later, so yeah. Yeah, that's why he's playing. Basically just as a mate. I play 3 because I don't really want to play a 4th in the main, I don't want to play a 4th copy of the Blaster Dark Abyss, and I don't really value a random one of, so I was like, let's just play 3 copies of this card. And so yeah, the card's still okay, but he's usually if you drop, he's your main ride that early, because he's like the thing you care about the least, so yeah. This is a grade 2 line, or just grade 3. First off is the, oh yeah, I guess I should explain why I'm not playing Tartu or Mana. I think the other cards are just more important. This card is a main to root 4 of. I think the main is hella good. This card's a mate. So, let's just say you cut a main, you at most have 4 slots. Since I'm playing the Cormac, you have to play as mate to some degree, right? So, it's like, I fill the slot with the mate. So that's why I'm not playing Tartu or Mana. Tartu also costs counterblocks, which I don't really like too much, because I'd rather use that counterblocks towards other things. Because, like, Judge Bell usually gets you enough boosters, you're probably going to drop to at least a Dorn, like 1 Dorn for the rear anyway, so... I think Tartu's still a good card, but I think the other cards are more valuable or are just needed in the deck because of Legion reasons. And then Mana, I just never liked the card. I don't think Mana is a very good card. All I really see Mana being realistically used for is like turn 2, you call the Shadow Lancer for free, you toss the grade 3 search to Mordred, and the Shadow Lancer back to the deck. I really don't like Mana. Oops, that not make that. Yeah, I think Mana is very I personally do like if I were to not play the Cormac, I would probably play Tartus in these slots. Definitely not Mana. So yeah. So yeah, I don't know what his grade 3 now. First off is the Mordred Phantom. He's the Break Ride. So his skill is Break Ride, give 10k, call any grade 2 or lower card from your deck, get that card for 5k. So you scale the rear as well, and he has plus 3 current attacking Vanguard. So he tutors any one card you want from your deck because you don't really call. It is any one. Yes, he can't call grade 3s, but you don't want to call those anyways. So. He tutors any card you want from the deck, which is really nice. He can call you Markart to grab extra fodder when you Legion. He can call him the main to help you try to survive the turn. BDR to push damage. BD8 to kill back row for cheaper than Blaster Dark Ranger. The original Blaster Dark Ranger, so yeah. Still very, very good. He's still your ideal first ride. Mordred is like so good. He is still like probably one of the best cards in the deck. Probably still is the best card in the deck because he just tutors everything you need, so yeah. Very, very good card deck. You definitely play 4 of this card, no questions asked. Because if you don't play Mordred, what else are you playing in this line? You're playing Raging Form? Raging Form kinda sucks. I'm not even playing him as my heal trigger in this deck, so yeah. I definitely do think Mordred is very much needed in this deck. So before we get to Legions, I'll talk about the 1-up first. My choice of 1-up is the Desperate Dragon. So his skill is Leverage 4 when he attacks. If you have more rear guards than your opponent, you can CV1 for a 5k and a crit. His other skill is, I think it's like the start of your main phase, you can sack off a card to pop one of your opponent's rear guards with priority to the back row, a random rear with priority to the back row, and plus 3k when attacking Vanguard. So, I personally like this card as my 1-up because I think, well, for one, Raging Form, you could play Raging as a 1-up, he's gonna make copies and stuff, but that's like very, I haven't tried it. If you feel that's cool tech, you could try it, but I'm personally not gonna try it because I don't think it's very good. I think Drag Ruler is like butt cheeks, garbage, not very good, very cost inefficient, and I think Deerwood is like the other option you to play because Deerwood is free crit, the 10k double rare that you played in Wave 1 Revengers as your heal trigger. When you play that, if you really didn't care for this slot, you could play like a Car if you really wanted to. I personally wouldn't play it, but you could play Car, you could play you can play Dark Dictator, to be honest, because Dictator is a Soul Blast if you get stuff out of your soul, which is like cool, I guess, if you're not playing Sword Breakers. But yeah, those are the cards that you can play in one slot. It can honestly be anything you want. If you like really like Drag Roller and stuff, you can play that. But I don't think that's right. I think Desperate is the best one slot here. Although I will say Drag Ruler does have the advantage of being a Phantom. So if you're actually stuck riding the 1-up, you can actually still proc Judge Bout. But I don't value that enough because it's just a random 1-up. One more thing to note though. This skill is actually pretty good in the mirror, the pop a random card priority to the back row, because if you ride this card after, in the mirror specifically, after they did their Phantom Blast or Abyss turn, where they sack up the 3 back row, if you ride this card, you sack a card up, you're popping a front row, you're popping an intercept, because they don't have back row anymore. So that's just like a random interaction that I think is like pretty good and relevant enough that I think this card is the best one, obviously. Yeah. And then next off, we'll go over the legions now. So first off, the Phantom Blaster Abyss. I think it's one of the Revenger Phantom Blaster Abyss. It's just PvD, but he's a legion now, and he restands instead of kill selling for crit. So the skill is that he legions with Phantom Blaster, or not Phantom Blaster, Blaster Dark Revenger Abyss, and his skill is once per turn on the turn you legion, you can on the turn that you legion at the end of the battle that attacked the Vanguard, you can CB1 sack off 3 Revenger cards to stand it and draw 2 cards. And his other skill is when attacking Vanguard plus 2k. So, yeah, this card's a restand. It is a Raging Form, but better in every conceivable way. Except for fighting house counterblast, but that one counterblast is, I think, worth cutting. It's worse because it costs counterblast, but at the same time, everything else with this card is better. So, yeah, this card is very good. It's by far the best finisher in the deck now. Because this card is a restand and not a reride, unlike Raging Form, you actually get to keep trigger power. And he's Legion, so he's also really, really big regardless of keeping trigger power or not. And then there's also the fact that since he doesn't cost the card to reride, you neg 1 less card out of your hand, which is important. So yeah, pretty good card, very good card. At first I definitely underestimated this card about how good it is, but turns out 4 drive checks and 2 draws after legioning heals and PGs back in your deck is a pretty good way to abuse Legion as a mechanic. So yeah, really good card, really good card. Definitely bump the deck up to be very playable. And finally, the heal trigger of choice for me is the Cormac. I actually really don't think this card's good, but you play him because he's a Legion. But I'll explain the cards first. I'll go over that after. Why I play him because he's Legion after that. So his skill is Legion with the grade 2 rare. So this fucker is his main, and his skill is when attacking a Vanguard, if you are on Legion, CB1 sack off anything. So in this instance, you can sack off the main or Swordbreaker because those are only non-Revengers in the deck, and he does not specify for you to sack off Revengers. To sack a card off, so you want to sack a card off to get a crit. So he just gets a crit for like a counterblast in a card, which is like cool, I guess. Can definitely help you beat over 6 heals and stuff like that, but then the crit's cool and all, but he's like an okay card. He's a crit, which is like fine. And then his other skill is when attacking a Vanguard, if you have another card in the center lane plus 3k. So if you are in Legion, he is a 23k attacker. So yeah, if you're not in Legion and you have a booster, he does some catchy numbers. He makes 19 with Judge Bow and makes 21 with any 7k booster. So which is magic numbers, which is quite important. So yeah. Honestly speaking, the crit is cool and all, and it definitely has 1 games, but you play him because he's a Legion. Why is that important? Because this deck genuinely runs the risk of deck out if you don't play 8 Legions. Before, when I was trying Raging Form as my heal, deck out was genuinely a very, very scary concern in a lot of my games. I never used Raging Form because deck out was a concern. After I did my PvA turn, Raging Form just like, oh, well, I could use Raging Form, but I'll also risk deck out if I use Raging Form. So let's not use Raging Form. So yeah. There's that. If you play something else in here, you'll still run into the risk of deck out because you are drawing a bunch of cards. You have or taking cards out of your deck. Judge Bow is 2 cards. Swordbreaker is a card. This guy is a card. He takes a card out. She takes 2 cards out. Mortar takes a card out. There's just a lot of cards in the deck that just take cards out of your deck and will actually run you the risk of deck out near the end of the game if you don't kill on your PvA turn, which does happen because everyone in the stack can drop PGs or heal. So yeah, I think the extra Legion is very important. I don't want to play him because I'd rather have extra space for better grade 2s, but I think my card is like good enough that you don't feel terrible about playing him, and the Cormac does have occasional usage, and the fact that he Legions is quite important in my opinion. So yeah, this is my list. Tell me what you guys think about it down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, all the good stuff. I'll have some games for you guys as per usual, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.